Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom, from movies, comics, video games, TV shows. We got you covered.
Pandora.
I think I covered everything.
Forgot about Pandora.
Pandora. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. And how's it going, man?
It's going great. We just saw Avatar.
We didn't just see it, but
You could have kept the illusion going.
but we did see it again.
Just like James Cameron immersed us in that 3D world.
He really did. So for those of you who didn't stick around to the end of last week's episode, and those of you who don't know how to read, because it's in the
We're
episode,
not making fun of our listeners.
because it's in the episode title, and yeah, we're going to talk about Avatar this
Well, it was
week.
between this and Umbrella Academy.
But then we saw Avatar again, and we were like, yeah, we got to talk about Avatar, because this movie, man, it does things.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Once you lock into that second act of this movie, it's just nothing short of just breathtaking.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that, but first we do have a little bit of news to talk about, and first and foremost, the legendary voice behind Darth Vader and Mufasa from The Lion King, and an actor for so many things that it would take an entire episode to talk about his stage life, his film life, his TV life. James Earl Jones has officially thrown in the towel. He's hung it up. He's retired.
I don't love the whole intro you just gave, because that felt very, very like he just passed away.
Nope.
I was here and I know what happened. I still was nervous that he passed away.
So, yeah, he's hanging it up. He has given Disney his blessing to use his voice and AI kind of recorded format, much like in the Obi-Wan show. And, amazing legacy and career.
Yeah, I mean, he's got probably the most iconic voice in maybe Hollywood, because he is the villain of Hollywood. He is Darth Vader, he's the biggest and the baddest of them all. So you can throw me your Thanoses, you can throw me whoever you want. The first big, breathtaking person was Darth Vader, and that doesn't happen without James Earl Jones. If you ever listen to the first recordings, they did use the actor that actually played Darth Vader that was
David
in the
Prowse.
suit. Yeah, they used his voice and then they threw it on, and it's just not the same.
No, and
She's part of the Rebel Alliance and a spy. Take her away. It's not the same.
To be fair, David Prowse definitely hard done by Lucasfilms also.
Oh, sure. Sure.
In terms of what he was given and, not given and pertains to that movie. But yeah, I mean, it's funny, we just talked about Rogue One last week, and that is his last official performance as Darth Vader. And yeah, I mean, I think it's cool that the legacy of the character through him will live on. They're going to continue to use his voice and everything, and that's something that we also talked about last week when it came to Peter Cushing as Tarkin in Rogue One, and kind
Carrie
of how
Fisher as well too,
and kind of how unsettling and kind of uncanny valley-ish that was, but a little less so with a voice. We don't actually have to see him on screen; we just hear it. And we talked about the Obi-Wan show, how it sounded like he got ripped right out of the 80s for that voice.
Yeah,
so.
I would not be surprised if this Darth Vader show is something that might actually happen and might actually be real, given that blessing to use his voice from now into the end of time, I guess. So wouldn't be surprised if we get an announcement, in the near future, far future, wherever it is. I think that his voice is going to kind of live on forever. Go watch Sandlot. Just a random James Earl Jones movie is at the end.
So moving on from that, we have a little bit of Fantastic Four news. So,
we had more news than D23 had.
Yeah, and we got a little bit of. We didn't talk about the writers last week, did we?
I don't believe we did.
Yeah, we might have mentioned one, but that was for for Kang Dynasty. Yep. We didn't talk about the writers for Fantastic Four. So first and foremost, Jeff Kaplan and Ian Springer are going to pen the script. Not the most well-known writing staff, which I think raised a lot of eyebrows that they were kind of, getting a much lesser known writers on the script. But at the same time, this is where we're at in Marvel now. And I think we'll talk about this a little bit when we talk about Avatar, when it comes to fandom passion. We never cared about the writers for a Marvel film before.
Yeah, we need to stop with this whole thing that we were just going out of our way to find the writers and be up in arms. I think it's just a reflection of the current state of the Marvel fan. I think this is a pretty good kind of case study for this. Is we're getting writers and all of a sudden we're caring about this. It's the revisionist history that that people tried to use with Thor 1, that somehow now it's a good movie. I just don't understand where that came from. I love you, Kenneth Branagh. You were a great villain, and you were a great villain in Tenet. But I don't. It's fine. I think there's something that's kind of refreshing about two new writers. I mean, there's the positive and the negative side. The negative side can be that Kevin Feige's the true one that's kind of making this movie and in the room with them and saying, this is how this is going to go. This is how this is going to go, which that could be a good or a bad thing. And the good thing is two, not, unknown writers, but two writers that aren't just, mega like Paul Schrader-esque writers that are coming in and they're like, they get to maybe have a little bit of freedom or have some fun too. And kind of, take this new route for these characters that are Marvel's first family A and be a team that kind of needs its home in the MCU.
Yep. And speaking of that, since the direction announcement and now the writing announcement, Kevin Feige and Matt Shakman are going on the search for the for the cast. Apparently, while the script is being penned, is when they're gonna shoot out and try and find a cast for this thing. So
they've got that cast.
I got to imagine they've got that cast.
I think they've had that cast for a while. I think they're trying. I think I'm holding my theory that they're gonna pop up in something. Like something's gonna happen. Like, and we talked about it when we were talking about D23. Would it not be cool to see them pop up in something and be like, "That's your reveal. There's your Twitter bomb that just wasn't dropped because you didn't get it spoiled."
I took it further than that. I said they shouldn't do it until the trailer comes out.
Until the trailer comes, that would be awesome. That would be Danny DeVito.
Actually, I think I said I don't think we should see them until the movie comes out.
What was this, 1977 again? I love it.
So that's, the Fantastic Four news, and, that's the big one that everyone's kind of anticipating, so I feel like this is going to start taking on a Spider-Man No Way Home kind of level of dissection and hype and all that stuff.
Great point, and I think it doesn't help that Matt Shakman did WandaVision, and he's also going to do this, so that hype level might start to rise and rise and rise to the point where people are going to be like, "Is Scarlet Witch going to be in this movie?" Probably not.
Probably not.
But who knows? It's funny that the last couple weeks we've been talking about movies and fandoms and like the specific fandoms for specific movie, genres and movie franchises. So it's funny that we're talking about Avatar today and kind of taking that through line to kind of see how times have changed. Times have really changed.
No kidding. Speaking of controversial, She-Hulk is...
Guys, it's okay. I can't talk about it.
No, don't talk about it yet. So the rumor mill swirling. I don't think this was officially confirmed or anything, but the strong rumor is that she will be appearing in Captain America 4: New World Order as She-Hulk. Obviously,
she's gonna be what?
That's cool. Yeah,
I think that the way this is gonna go is, if you think about those first three Captain America movies, it's the idea of the super soldier. And I think, like I said, during the D23, like, you have three different levels. You have the street level, you have your cosmic level, but that middle section is the world level. So I do think that Captain America New World Order is going to be like a surrogate pilot for whatever the new Avengers are going to look like. 'Cause, like, I do think that some other characters beyond her might show up in that movie. So apparently what this plot is looking like maybe is that the end of She-Hulk's going to give us the intelligentsia led by the leader. I threw out my theory to you before we hopped on that I think the Red Skull is going to come back, and I think he's going to be the one that's behind the shadows. He's going to be real mad when he finds out that it's Sam Wilson as Captain America.
He's not the only one that's mad.
Not us. Not us.
For the record, it's not us. It's great that he's Captain America now.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think it makes sense. I think you brought up a point, maybe it was last week, maybe it was the week before, that like the Hulk kind of thing is like the new super soldier serum, basically. Yep. And, she's going to be in that. It definitely leans credence to that theory that, people are going to be after that kind of superpower now.
Yeah, because I think what the Thunderbolts might do, because I think the Thunderbolts is coming after this, like, I think the Thunderbolts might have something to deal with this too, because I gotta think that John Walker is going to show up in Captain America 4, right?
Sure.
I don't think that you put him in Falcon and Winter Soldier and you don't put him in New World Order.
Yeah,
unless they're saving it and they want the Thunderbolts to be, it's like, the whole idea of the Thunderbolts is that, because another theory I see floating around is that the Thunderbolts themselves are going to be like, instead of just being like, the evil, like, there's truly going to be like the Hydra's Avengers, and the Hydra's going to come back again. So cut off one head, two more shall take its place.
Just like the Hydra.
Just like the Hydra from Greek mythology. You're Hydra from Greek mythology.
So that's it. for the news this week. It's a light news week.
Late news week.
We're also recording this a little earlier than we usually do.
You gave it away again.
It's all right. It's all right. The people are allowed to see or hear, I guess.
Yeah.
So next week might be a more news-heavy episode. We'll see. But that being said, we do have one more piece of news, but it also segues directly into our Avatar retrospective and look back and review. And that is, hilariously, that the Avatar re-release has defeated why can I not say the name of this movie?
Just how that movie can perform at the box office.
Don't Worry, Darling has been beaten by Avatar at the box office by $500,000. $500,000. So Avatar's re-release has brought in $30.5 million as of Sunday. And why can I not say this?
Don't worry, darling. I got you.
That's it. That's the one.
I got you.
It has made $30 million. So
no Harry Styles, you ruined us.
One of the last pillars of Warner Brothers is apparently flailing.
It really is on The Rock's shoulders to save it. The power in the Warner Brothers lot is about to change.
And that, kind of as we talk about Avatar, I think that's where I want to start first. Is the what people possibly perceive as just this unbelievable box office success that it is, because it is quite an anomaly, isn't it?
Sure. I think that's a good way to kind of approach it, is understanding that this movie's unorthodox for making this much money at the time it came out. You're talking about 2009. Obviously, you're in the back end of like that awkward 2000s movie phase where Bourne movies are dominating your action. I mean, David Fincher's coming out with some cool, psychoanalytical movies. Who else you got in that time? Christopher Nolan's kind of like on the up and up at that time. He's taking his new approach at Batman in the mid 2000s. Who else is floating around in the 2000s? Scorsese's in the 2000s, in the mid 2000s, he's doing The Departed. So like, you still have your bigger filmmakers doing their things, but in terms of the CGI big worlds, like, that's one of the cusps that we need to get over.
Yeah, and that's what this is essentially. So 1990. Take us back to 1994 is when James Cameron originally
wrote...
Your
rom-coms. That's the big thing that I was forgetting. Your 2000s rom-coms that's, to be honest, what's like the action, and then that rom-com, that's what's dominating the 2000s. So.
Yeah. And so 1994, James Cameron penned an 80-page treatment for Avatar, which seems insane to me that this was a concept that he came up with, before he even made Titanic. And then even crazier, he was going to start making this film to get it ready for release in 1999. So 2 years after Titanic is when we would have seen, I believe it was called like Project 880 at the time or something like that. But the bones of Avatar would have been this in 1999. I
gotta think this probably would have felt a lot of Dune 84-ish. Yeah, if this came out in 99 or 2000.
This movie would not have worked.
Nope.
In 1999, and James Cameron, to his credit, saw that and noticed that, recognized that, and said like, I have this idea, but unfortunately the technology I require is not yet developed. So he saw that coming, and he.
You gotta love the wherewithal too to understand,
absolutely,
because most people would have tried to make it. And they would have been, and
100%.
To his credit, and something we're going to talk about is James Cameron was very much top dog on campus. Like, what studio is this by? This is a Warner Brothers production at the time. No, not Warner Brothers. This is 20th Century
Fox. Yep.
Back when it was Fox. Back in the good old days.
Yep.
So you got to think that he came off the heels of Titanic and said, I'm gonna take what I want. And I'm gonna do what I want. And they probably, the story goes is that they weren't too happy. And he said, you see this lot we're standing on? This is because of me. Like, I helped build this single-handedly. So I'm gonna want some. I got my demands to make.
Yeah, and then like you said, to his credit, did not pull the trigger. And I think, in retrospect, I think you're seeing much of that again with these sequels. His patience.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how many movie studios, how many directors look at a property that grossed over almost $3 billion and would have the sequels ready to go and just waited.
And you know what's funny too? You look at the superhero frame that we live in, right? Yeah. And it's funny that Marvel's at this stage with Phase 4 where people are so indifferent about it, and now it's the time to pounce. Right now is like where they're looking for, like, we need better CGI. If you look at that, so especially after you watch the first Avatar and then you go watch the Avatar 2 trailer, it looks absolutely breathtaking. Like,
it's unbelievable.
I couldn't believe, like, that scene where he's gripping the leash almost, like, that looks like real hands. Like, I don't understand, like, how he made this look look this good. But it's 2022. The CGI's caught up, and he's taken full advantage. But you can tell he took his time. It's the same thing with Top Gun Maverick. Like, there's some movies when a filmmaker takes their time and a studio takes their time.
Yeah, and that's exactly what this is. So, a lot of people were, at the time in 2009, were kind of on the fence about this. You know what I mean? This was basically a movie that was being sold on James Cameron's name, the recognition, and the VFX. Basically, that's it. Because, going back to the original trailers for this movie, you don't know what this movie is. Nope. You know what I mean? So it is a gamble. Because,
you know what this feels like? It feels like 77 Star Wars. Like, it feels like what George Lucas was doing. Like, you have to take the ultimate gamble on yourself. Because I think at that time, did George Lucas I think he did American Graffiti by this time too. So he had already had a movie that was pretty good that came out. And he's just like, well, I'm going to take the swing of all swings to see if it's going to stick. And it's just funny that those two movies both landed in. I mean, one of them made $2.8 billion at the box office, and the other one is literally one of the founding fathers of Hollywood.
Yeah, and I mean, you listen to any interview that James Cameron has done about Avatar, he realized it. It's confidence that I think people misinterpret as arrogance. Yep. He knew he had it.
Yeah.
He knew what he had, and he was just like, I know what I have, and either people are going to see this or they're not.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. It's like that kind of. There's a couple thought processes when you can go about filmmaking, and one of them is that filmmaking's like a sport. So James Cameron was a pro, and he needed to take a risk, and he took the ultimate risk, and it landed.
Yeah. So the budget for this movie, it oscillates. I don't think we got I have a hard number on it.
I think it's because the years too kind of will fluctuate that.
So it floats between $237 and $310 million, which for 2009 is even for now, it's one of the most expensive.
Hefty.
But we talked about Rogue One last week being insanely expensive. Another movie that looks really good. Yep. But even Rogue One does not have what this movie has in terms of its look. So, and then, we got to the release, and these numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
So on its opening day, this movie made $26.7 million. Opening day. Opening weekend was $77 million. And you're like, all right. Okay.
But this is 2009.
2009.
That's the thing.
2009 December.
Right.
So December 2009, which, for those of you who don't know historically, and maybe this was the brilliance of James Cameron and the movie studio, it's typically a pretty dead period.
Right.
So, he just decided, I'm going to put my big CGI spectacle in theaters when nothing else is there.
Yeah, you got to think, because before it was in the modern age, it's usually Star Wars that's dominating the December time. Like, their movie is usually your December movie that you get. But I gotta think that Avatar took the shot to be like, December, it's slower, it's holiday, let's throw a non-holiday movie there just to get people out of the, break their brain for a little bit and get them in the seats for a little bit. It's cold, like, you can go with your family, people are usually off from work. It's a good Christmas Day game too.
Yeah, so it's a good opening weekend. It was actually only the second largest December opening ever, behind I Am Legend. So I Am Legend opened better than Avatar.
New episode alert.
It was the largest domestic opening weekend for a film not based on a franchise. It beat out The Incredibles for that. And then, obviously, and this is where the bulk of the money comes, the highest opening weekend ever for a 3D movie. And that's where this movie makes its money, because, so the 77 million, and then, so there's a drop off. We talked about this drop off for like every movie ever. People panic and they're like, this movie dropped 30% or 50% is, good for most movies.
Yeah, that's like, and it's also why would you bank on your movie? Like, obviously you want to bank on people seeing it, but you shouldn't rationalize people seeing it multiple times. You got to be a really special movie to see it multiple times.
And this is where the Avatar anomaly begins in the second week. It didn't drop 50%. It didn't drop 30%. It didn't drop 20%. It dropped 1.8% in its second weekend. So first weekend number was 77 million. Second weekend number, 75.6 million. So it almost matched its opening weekend box office with its second weekend box office.
And you know what that is, right?
It's word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
It's word of mouth. It's people, and James Cameron has talked about this. It's word of mouth. I did it when I saw the movie in 2009. People going out and seeing it and going, that is the most visually stunning movie I think I've ever seen. You know, I think I saw it. I think I did see it in 3D the first time I saw it, and just it's unbelievable because we've talked about it briefly on the show. The 3D in this movie, there's a little bit of like the train coming at you kind of 3D.
Sure.
Like I think about like the first like hour of the movie has some of that. Like when you're talking about the guy doing the golfing and like the cup is right in front of your face, but those sequences in the forest, are unbelievable.
No, they are.
Still,
they are unbelievable. And not to jump the gun a lot, like I said, once the second act of that movie kicks in, it's just, in my opinion, one of the greatest examples of immersion into a world. Like, this is why James Cameron's like on that Rushmore that you've heard me talk about before. Like, the Rushmore is more than 4, but he's on there as like the founding fathers of this for a reason. It's like, it's Scorsese, it's him, like, there's a reason, like, he's up there. He's that Spielberg-esque, as, like, Scorsese's, like, the practicality of it. Spielberg and Cameron are the worlds we can't reach. They help us reach it. That's why they're so incredible.
Yep. Yeah, this is true world building at its finest. And then, so, even continuing that, third weekend, it only dropped 9.4%. So, the third weekend this movie's out, it made $68.4 million domestically, which is insane. So by the time you get to day 19 of this movie being out worldwide, it has hit $1 billion after a little under 3 weeks.
Like, there's no words to even match, like, how that's got to feel. The studio's got to feel like they're geniuses for giving James Cameron what he wanted, and I think they're going to think about that again. And being under the Disney umbrella, this is probably, by the time December comes and we're talking about Avatar 2, it's probably going to be another huge win for them. Because, like I said earlier, like, those people that aren't loving Marvel right now, Warner Brothers is in shambles, for lack of a better term. Like, this is a needed win for a new franchise, because this is the second one, so now we can officially label this a franchise. So going into this world is just, it's just something you'll never forget about. And I just had that feel reignited. Like I said before, like I hadn't seen this movie in so long. Like it literally been like 10 years at the very least since I saw that movie front to back. So it was like re-entering that world for a little bit. And I guess I'm the one that talks about the theater experience itself. So I guess, listen, the movie's not packed or nothing like that. Theater's not packed, but there were people in there. There were definitely people in there.
And you don't get $30 million out of nothing.
Right, yeah. It's not Morbius. But seriously, there were people in there, and you got to think they kind of felt like us. They were probably fans of these characters.
We don't live in a big town.
No, we don't.
Area.
No, we don't. We're not in the middle of nowhere, but we're not in the middle of nowhere, if that makes sense. So, yeah, we're in the suburbs from those movies people watch. But yeah, so talking about this world in this movie, I think we could talk about its narrative, because there's a reason, and it's substance. This movie has so much substance. It could just look pretty, but this movie has something, and it has your heart, and there's a few characters that take it. And I think Zoe Saldana's Neytiri takes it and just holds it the entire movie.
Yeah, and that's the big gag about this movie, right? Especially on like online, is that nobody remembers anything about this movie, and nobody like the characters, like nobody remembers the characters' names, nobody remembers like who was in it, yada yada yada. Like, sure, there's an element of that. I think this, but also I think part of that is one, it up until this point, this movie's been a one-off, so it's not inherently memorable. Yep. And B, it's not a movie that, and I think it goes to explain why you and I have both not seen it in so long. It's just a movie you can't just put on at home. No,
you need the immersion. Like, if you're going to put it on, like, you need speakers, you need, like people with movie rooms. Like, that's where you need to watch. Like, I just wouldn't recommend just watching this movie on your phone. And, I mean, I talked about it, like, when I talked about what Tarantino was saying. And, like, I know David Lynch has been vocal about, like, watching movies on your phones. Like, it's been to the point, like, I can't watch movies on my phone anymore, because my whole thing is, like, the idea of the cinema experience. Like, this is a movie that encompasses that feeling that you get, because once you get to Pandora, like, I think it's like there's a really good shot where they're in the clouds and then the jet like falls into the atmosphere of Pandora. Like, it's just that crack, it's that boom of the engine, and then you drop and you're there. You're immediately there. You're immediately locked into what this world offers you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite films ever, and it's not a movie I routinely go back to because I know that the experience watching it at home will not be the same.
It's like Interstellar. Like, Interstellar's, again, not a movie that I can just throw on to fall asleep, or that movie it garners your attention. This movie garners your attention, and it garners every bit of your mental capacity to fall in love with what this world looks like.
Yeah. So just shotgunning the rest of these box office numbers because they're absurd. So I talked about the 9% drop off in the third weekend. The fourth weekend, it still made $50 million. The fifth weekend, it made $54 million.
It was a holiday, right, for that
Martin
weekend?
Luther King, yep. Sixth and seventh weekends were 34.9 and 31.2 respectively $million, that is. And then on January 31st of the year it was released, it earned $2 billion worldwide.
2 months. 2 months for $2 billion.
The first film to gross over $700 million in the U.S. And on February 27th, after 72 days of release, it was still number one at the box office for 7 consecutive weeks, which the first time since Titanic. So James Cameron knows how to win at the box office. And then, including the re-release, Avatar has grossed $770 million in the US and Canada, and $2.1 billion in other countries, for a worldwide total of $2.877 billion. Just some absolutely staggering numbers, and so much of that is attributed. And here's the thing: people say, "Well, it's only because of the 3D." Yeah.
No.
Well, no, but you also,
Sure, yeah, at the time, sure, yep.
But to be fair, the 3D in this movie is not some gimmick.
No.
Just to sell tickets.
No, especially as soon as he meets Neytiri for the first time, that's when you understand that was like the magnum opus of what 3D could be. After he's in, it's just the light display they put on in this movie is awesome. Like, once he's kind of at the world tree for a little bit, like, that's when you really start to envelop, and like, you're really just fully encompassed in this world, which is Pandora.
Yeah, the effects, the 3D effects are so subtle at that point. Just bringing you like just these little particle effects or little things swirling in the area that, like I said, it's not that like the train coming out of you from the screen. You know what I mean? It's just there to immerse you in the world and make you kind of pay attention to what's going on. That's what makes this movie work. That's what makes this movie so special. And then, like you said, beneath that are some really, really great performances.
And some great performances, some great themes. I heard a great saying that theme is your DNA of the story itself. So these themes that they're talking about, your broader themes, like you get your fish out of water story for a little bit.
The themes in this movie are not unique.
No, they're not. And it's, again, that's that same thing that Top Gun Maverick's not doing anything astronomical with its story, but it's consistent. It's consistent in what it tries to tell, and when it hits you hard. That's what it does well, and this movie hits you hard, and that's on top of the way it looks too. So now you're talking about two things that are kind of your mind's trying to process at the same time, which are kind of like you're succumbing to the movie itself. I think that's a beautiful thing to kind of experience.
Yeah, I mean, people can criticize this movie for all they want, but these numbers are not an accident.
No.
And this movie, the re-release winning at the box office is not an accident.
Yeah, and then the Don't Worry Darling drama behind it, I thought that was going to be a for sure win, that people were, it's the whole saying that bad publicity is still publicity itself because people are going to go see it. It's just kind of unfortunate. I saw people like laughing in the theater, and it's kind of sad because I haven't seen this movie. I'm going to see it this week, but I have a feeling that it might not be as bad as people are trying to make it out to be, but now it's been like memed for lack of a better term. So that's how it's going to be taken. And that's the new age we live in. Yep. That's how everything's going to be perceived. It's going to be the real perception and then the social media perception.
That's what makes Avatar so interesting.
Yep.
Is how that's going to fly in 2022,
right.
Some 13 years after this movie.
Because people really let their opinions on movies be influenced by jokes made on Twitter and Instagram. Like, it's kind of sad that that's the way it goes. Like, that's kind of, I'm glad, like, we do what we do because I feel like we separate those things and we try to find the beauty in these things where some people just can't do that. And it's rather unfortunate because people are putting their heart and souls into making some of these films, and just one joke getting like all the likes. It's just like, this is how my work's going to be like remembered as just this joke. And I just put everything into this.
Yeah. So going back to the themes of this movie. So you got obviously your big fish out of water theme with Sam Worthington's character, Jake Sully. And he's good in this movie.
Yeah, and there's themes on top of your themes too, because there's the theme for him too, and it's so just you feel it when he runs as his avatar for the first time. Like, you really feel that, and it's like it's doing two things. It's you're literally walking out into finally the forest of Pandora for the first time, but he's finally walking in years. Like, he finally gained this thing, and like there's a line that he gives later in the movie that's really, really incredible, where he talks about this feels like the dream now. Like, me waking up feels like the dream, and like me being with the Na'vi feels like my actual reality.
And you get that, like, that comes across on the screen too. Like, you know, his physical appearance as a human is so disheveled and almost malnourished.
Yeah, he's trying to just like eat quick. Like, he won't sleep because he wants to be there. He wants to be with all the Na'vi. He wants to be with Neytiri so bad.
He wants to be free.
He wants to be free. Yeah, this idea of freedom too is huge in this movie. And I mean, freedom usually comes with war, which is a big piece of this.
Yeah,
I guess we should talk about our favorite character from this movie, Stephen Lang.
Stephen Lang as Colonel Quaritch. Quaritch?
Yeah, Miles Quaritch. He's the colonel.
He's the most colonel of colonels.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You talk about early 2000s military man trope. He is that.
Hollywood missed by not getting him in a movie where The Rock's under him and he's the colonel in something.
Look, these characters, most of them are not complicated.
No.
They're not complex. A lot of them follow a very simple paradigm of, you know, broad strokes. But for a movie like this, where a lot of it is the visual spectacle, as long as the characters aren't distracting and they're passable, the movie works.
Yeah, and he's fun. Like, that's not, I feel like that's something that gets kind of lost in translation. Like, I think we get this misconception that everybody needs to be like this break all character of, like, you know, either emotion or like funniness or like a different kind of, you know, a different verb. But he's just simply military guy A, and you gotta think Stephen Lang gave a little extra. Like, just some of the lines he gives, like with that little like Louisiana accent, just kills me. He's so good. Oh, he's hilarious, man.
He's great, and he's like, you know. Yeah, like you said, it's just like his accent and like some of the choices he makes to like make certain scenes. Like his introduction scene is perfect. It's picture perfect.
Even the way they frame it is really well done. And you know who else? You know what's a good point? Is that, you know what they don't do? They don't overuse these human characters a lot. I think that's so genius, because you know what other people or studios would have done? They would have been like, well, people aren't going to like this because it's not something they're used to seeing. So
looking at you, Michael Bay, in Transformers.
Yeah, that's literally the thing I was thinking about. It's like, you're so worried about the thing that your movie's titled after being not you know, digestible by audiences, so you're gonna have Shia LaBeouf run around for 3 movies and then Mark Wahlberg run around for another 2 movies. Like, you can just have the actual thing be the thing.
I have been tasked with keeping you alive. I will not succeed. I will not succeed.
Even Michelle Rodriguez.
Not with all of you.
Not with all of you. Even Michelle Rodriguez as Trudy. They're used in the perfect dosage.
Again, she's another one, just like regular, like kind of against the grain military.
I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. She's the one. She's the military person with the moral conscience. Basically.
Yep. That's it.
You got your science nerd.
You got your
Norm. Norm the science, who's like the one who like did all the studying and he knows, but he doesn't have that connection.
Yeah.
With he's like he's the definition of book smart but not street smart.
Yep.
He understands their language, he understands their mannerisms, but he doesn't connect with them in the way that Jake does with Neytiri.
Yep.
And that's
right. No, true. Sigourney Weaver's your head person that's not with the military aspect, that's just true to herself.
Again, very against the grain, not your typical, you know, also not a typical Sigourney Weaver character either.
No, not at all.
She's got that, like, Sigourney Weaver, like, flair and like attitude to it. She's smoking a cigarette, a CGI cigarette.
A CGI cigarette that we just learned a couple minutes ago. So that's fun.
Yeah, so, you know, and she's very like standoffish to him at first, and then once she sees that he's breaking through, she's like, oh shoot, like I got something with this guy.
Yeah, because there's even the line, because at the beginning Sam Worthington, or Jake, it's very like, he is the military war dog that's just about the mission until he learns to fall in love with the world, just like we learned to fall in love with the world. He's probably one of my favorite POV characters in movies.
What I dare to say, he's our avatar.
He is our avatar.
The world of Pandora.
Yeah, no, that's a really good way to talk about it. And it's not only the world of Pandora. It's the ideas that come with humans going over to Pandora. Like it's a
colonialism story.
Yeah. You know. And it's something it's potent. It is, especially upon this rewatch, it is potent. Like, you do feel it. Like, they're warmongers. Like, they can't help but take. Like, even I love the addition of that fake Elon Musk-esque character. Like,
not Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, right. You know why he works? Because that does feel reflective of some people now. Not to say anything about anyone, but it does feel reflective of, like, I'm just here for the money. Like, I don't care about none of this stuff. I'm a billionaire. I don't care about this military stuff. You guys run whatever rogue operations you guys want. You take care of the military. I get the unobtainium. Look, we couldn't have come up with a better name, James Cameron. You did so good. Maybe he was just like, it was the notes, and like he had millions of notes on his board. He's just like, I have the greatest world. I'm about to make all this money. And they were just like, hey, did you come up with a word for the MacGuffin? And he's just like, crap.
Unobtainium.
Oh, crap. We're shooting tomorrow. Oh, no. Unobtainium.
It's said like a few times.
Yeah.
Like a hand, like maybe I can count on one hand the amount of times that word is said.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. But I don't care.
Right.
I really don't. The movie looks spectacular. Yeah. The movie is spectacular, and like I said, maybe I am forgiving of some things that in a lesser movie I wouldn't be as forgiving of, but that's the point.
Yep.
At the end of the day, like, there's a reason why this movie can get away with some goofy stuff that Morbius can't get away with.
Yeah, like Melvin Potter from Daredevil yelling "Get some," being charged by
all those characters. Yeah. The human characters are totally.
But I love that. I love that so much, because who cares about them? I don't care about them. I care about the actual Na'vi. I don't need to know about them.
Yeah, they're stormtroopers.
Exactly. They're stormtroopers. Yep.
They're stormtroopers, and I wouldn't say Stephen Lang's character is quite Darth Vader. He's more like Tarkin-ish.
Yeah, he is kind of Tarkin-ish, yeah. I'm afraid that we'll see the Darth Vader-esque version of whoever's coming in Avatar 2.
It feels that way because, hilariously, I did not realize he was in this next one and the subsequent sequels.
Yeah, he looks like the military guy that's walking through the forest with... It looks like Melvin Potter from Daredevil's character, too.
So, yeah, because, spoiler alert, for the end of this movie, he is...
skewered. By Neytiri.
It takes him. Look, man. He says that the Na'vi have whatever bones they have in them. I think he has those bones because that guy.
Yeah,
he's like the Terminator.
For lack of a better term, he has that dog in him.
Just absolutely, but it leans like credence to like his like goofy 2000s
he's an 80s action villain. That's exactly who he is. Like, Stephen Lang would have played amazing as like the villain. Give me any movie, give me Die Hard, I don't care what it is. He would have been the perfect
Terminator-esque.
Oh yeah,
the guy just does not relent.
He really does feel like a T-1000.
He doesn't relent.
Yeah,
it's insane. It's insane. Like,
kicks open doors, mask, it just kicks the door open.
He's set on fire at one point.
It just brushes it off his shoulder. Like, he's awesome. He's I feel like why is, like, have we just not let things just be cool? Like, why do things, like, can't some things just... He's cool. Is that fine to say? Yeah. He's just funny and cool. That's it.
It's crazy. Like, this,
Drinks a coffee while he's just incinerating a race of beings. First round's on me. Like, that... Give me more of that in Hollywood.
Yeah,
give me more of that.
Sometimes you just gotta lean into the characters that you're writing. At the end of the day, like, they don't have to be super complex. I think Neytiri's probably the most complex character in this movie.
Yep. Because even Jake, only because he is the POV, like, because we've seen this story before, like, he's not overly complex, but Neytiri, she's got the most emotional depth. She's kind of she's the reverse because she's playing in two different worlds because she's starting to leak out. She never betrays her Na'vi nature, but she also is falling in love with an outsider. Like, she's pulling what Chani does for Paul Atreides. Like, you're betraying your people, but essentially, especially, what's the big creature's name that he gets at the end?
Taruk?
Yeah, Taruk. Like, especially after he obtains Taruk. Mission. He's like, this is your last mission before the final boss, so you need to obtain Taruk. He is their savior at that point. Like, he is, and I think they're going to play heavier into that in Avatar 2 of him being like this, because he is he's like the Lisan Al-Gaib from Dune. Like, you're the voice of the outer world. Like, you're the one that came, but you're not, like, you're
not us.
You're not us.
Still.
But you still are you're chosen. Like, you were chosen to do this.
Yeah, and she's great also because typically in stories like this, it's a lot of give and take, right? Yeah. Where, like, the fish out of water guy learns about the place where the girl he falls in love with is from, and then she does she does the reverse. Mm-hmm. Like, she starts to learn, like, his ways. But that never happens.
No, she does not. She could care less about the human ways, because that's the thing that's coming to destroy them, the sky people themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, the only time she interacts with them is she interacts with Grace at the tree at the end, and then when she retrieves Jake at the end to save him.
Yeah, maybe I wanted more of that. That's something I'll say. Maybe I wanted a little bit more of, like, what that was about, because it feels like something like, why did the talks start to break a little bit? And maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but at the same time, maybe I want a little bit more of, like, why is Grace even allowed, even remotely close to you guys? Like, what did she give you? Obviously, she gave you the ability to speak, but then they went out of their way to say, like, they don't want any of that. They don't care any of that. Like, they are just to themselves.
Yeah, I think it was just more like her attitude.
Sure.
And, like, people, like, them realizing that she's not like the other, kind of like Jake in a way. Yeah. Like, she's not like the others. You know, she's not after, like, anything nefarious. Like, she genuinely just wanted to teach them and learn from them at the same time. So I think that's probably what that is. And she's also back in the second movie.
I think it's more of they're just using Sigourney Weaver to play one of the daughters, because I'm assuming, so I do want to save this a little bit. We'll still, cap this, but because of AWA, I want to talk about the spirituality of this film, because it is really, really beautiful for a big budget movie. It's not something you get. It's crazy that these big budget movies reflect each other. Like, we talked about Star Wars. There's a lot of Dune for me in here. Like, you feel a lot of it, but they're not just tropes of these movies. They're tropes of the lore it comes from. So, but yeah, Sigourney, we're getting Kate Winslet too. Yep. He's going to play one of his daughters. Like, he grew his family out, and I'm watching the trailer right now as we talk, and it looks so good. To jump the gun a little bit again, we got a little bit, so we got a clip from Avatar 2, Way of the Water, with one of his sons, and oh my gosh.
Oh man.
I couldn't believe it. Like, I genuinely couldn't believe how good it looked. Like, the water animation that they use, like, there's a reason that he needed to wait, and I'm so glad he waited. If he needed to wait another 5 years and we got that, so be it. So be it, because their skin looks, like, textured, like, it just looks like a PS5 upgrade. Like, I don't know how they were able to get this done, but they did.
It looks surreal.
It does. It finally, like, the 2009, I think you're entranced by, like, it's 2009 and we're getting this now, because, a bunch of other things have caught up. Like, this feels like it just put another, like, mile marker in between them.
Yeah, I mean, I told you when we walked out that some of the CGI in the 2009 version doesn't hold up.
Sure.
A lot of the creature designs don't really hold up.
Yeah.
Outside of probably the I forget what the flying things are called.
Yeah, those are probably the best looking creatures in that movie.
But, like, those like rapid, like, dog kind of carrot things, that looks a little glossy and a little, but it's nitpicking on a movie that came out 13 years ago. Right. So, it's not all going to hold up. Right. Like, when you look at, video games that get remastered, like, doesn't always hold up either. So, that's just some small little things in what is otherwise, even 13 years later, still a really visually stunning film. Yeah. And a lot of that comes down to the cinematography too. Yep. A lot of great, kind of establishing shots. Yeah. Yep. That drop you into, like, your location and where you are.
Like I said earlier, you physically get dropped into Pandora as soon as you get off the ship that takes you there. Like, you take a jet right into the atmosphere, right into the world, and then once he runs out with his newfound legs, it's the same thing. And then once they get to the Force, that's when it's really on. Yeah.
Those I think there's 2 or 3 of them, kind of these nighttime kind of training / like excursions between Jake and Neytiri. They like affect me in a way, like, watching them. Like, it is still very, like, Tarzan, like, her like training him, and he's like coming into his own as a member of the Na'vi.
Right.
But like it's moving.
Right.
And and you know what does that? You know, and not a lot of films do this anymore. It's the music.
Yeah. That score by James Horner is absolutely incredible. And I told you, I was like, I think I said on here, there was one thing that I couldn't remember this movie, but there was a sequence that I couldn't get out of my mind from when I was a kid and I watched it. And it was the sequence when the world tree is being, one of the trees is being destroyed. And like, it's that, like, it replays and replays. And it's like, it's emblazoned in my mind. And it's just like, it's just the subtleties of score. Like, I think, again, another thing that we do now, I think people want that big, you know, crescendo of a score to happen, but it's always in the subtlety. Like, I always say, like, my favorite two things about sci-fi are it's the subtlety in sci-fi and it's the human in sci-fi. Like, those are the two things that define it to me. So the subtlety in the score is also reflective of that too.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not a pair of scenes that are just like exposed with a ton of dialogue and like character moments. No. It's just visuals and it's just score that sell that scene and make me like literally like make you feel something.
Yeah,
at least make me feel something.
Yeah.
And it's something like I can't like even put into words like what I'm feeling. Like
right.
It's not even something that I'm thinking of, like I'm consciously trying to feel this.
Yeah.
It's just happening to
right.
me. And it's so crazy like seeing this movie again that I still get that same
yeah.
feeling.
Right.
Like that feeling that like I'm not trying to have this feeling.
No.
Like I'm not conscious that I'm having this feeling. It's just happening to me.
And the quote I'll leave you with is, good movies make you feel something. If it's a comedy, the same thing. If it's a drama, if it's a sci-fi, if it's a musical, good movies will make you feel something. You might not know what it is, but if the movie's good, it probably is going to make you have a visceral reaction to some point that you didn't expect yourself to have.
And that's why all these kind of criticisms that gets lobbed at this movie kind of make me go like, huh? Like, did you watch it?
Right.
Like, did you see it properly, like in theaters?
Yeah, it's the nitpick nature.
It's not. It goes beyond nitpicking though, because people are like, this movie's boring. Like, I've sat through boring movies before. Yeah. This ain't it.
No. Yeah, you're so involved too. Like
It has to be people that just threw this movie on their TVs and been like, let's see what all the hype is about.
Right.
And they just didn't feel it. And I don't blame them for that.
Sure, I can't tell people how to feel.
And I think I would probably think the same thing, honestly, if I threw it on my TV in my room and, you know, even if I turn the lights off and watch, I'd probably not feel the same that I felt sitting watching it in the big movie screen.
Yeah. The cinema experience, it's so important. And that's the perfect like, it's so important. Like, I hope like people understand like why we need to go to the movies, like to see some of these films, like especially all these classic filmmakers that are still making movies. Like Steven Spielberg and Sam Mendes are both making movies about movies that are coming out this year, and it's just the feeling I get from watching those trailers is like it reflects for this, because when you think about like the movie going experience, it's just like, it's something that you shouldn't have power over it. Like, you shouldn't be able to like go on your phone and like, you know, just text somebody back or like, you know, check the score to the game, whatever. Like, you being in the theater, it's not like a direct line of no light. Like, it's literally all around you. It's dark. Like, the rows are kind of columned off a little bit like a Coliseum. So like, hopefully you can't see the person in front of you. Like, you're just looking at this massive screen, but it's not just looking at this massive screen. You're finally in a new world. I don't care if it's a movie about a town that takes place across from your town, or it's something where we go light years away to Pandora. Like, it's the full envelopment and encompassing of a new world. Like, that's what true cinema experience should feel like.
Yeah, and I think this movie does that in spades. Like, that feeling that like you're totally immersed in like and like, you know, people say this movie's too long. You don't feel the length of this.
I really didn't on this at all. And I was a little nervous about that at first, but then once they go into the jungle, it's just like, once you're finally in the forests of Pandora, I don't feel it one bit, because I want to know what happened. Like, for him, same thing. Like, this human world doesn't feel real anymore. It's the Pandora world that feels real. Yeah. Man, that's a really good POV character.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you know, And that's, again, one of the criticisms of this movie is that the characters aren't memorable. And I think that's because, people say like, oh, all of these A-list actors who potentially could have had this role. I mean, I think you mentioned Jake Gyllenhaal. Matt Damon famously was offered this role and 10% of the gross. You fumbled the bag, Matt Damon.
You did.
But I think Sam Worthington, honestly, is a perfect actor for this role because he's not distractingly famous.
No, not at the time. You know who he reminds me of? He reminds me around Creed time Michael B. Jordan. And the reason I say this is it's his acting. So I know famously, like, there's this sect of people that really don't like Michael B. Jordan. You know why I think Michael B. Jordan's his best? It's not on his line delivery. It's when he's in his more savage moments, like his more yelled moments. Like, I think that's where he operates his best. Like, Creed, like, when he's hitting the canvas in Creed 2, like, again, good stories make you feel something. Like, I know people have their criticisms about Creed 2. I think some of that might come from Ryan Coogler not directing him himself. Like, I was feeling something. Like, as ever tropey of he fights Drago's son, or however cliche that is, like, when he's hitting the canvas, when he's in the room and he finds out his daughter can't hear, like, that's when I think he's at his best. I think Sam Worthington takes the same thing. Like, when he's giving his speeches to the other clans to get them together, like, that's when I really feel something for Sam Worthington. Like, when he wakes up and he's just like, I can't feel my human body anymore. Like, I just want to be a Na'vi from now. That's where I really feel it.
Yeah, and I think hopefully that this second movie kind of reintroduces the world to Sam Worthington, because I feel like coming off the back of this movie, everyone was like, here comes the big Sam Worthington.
Yeah, he's like, this is Hollywood's new star. Like, you know who I'm afraid of this happening to? I'm a little afraid of this happening to Austin Butler. I hope he doesn't get lost in this, because I feel like nowadays you need a biopic. You need a sci-fi movie. You need what do you need? You need a period piece. Timothée Chalamet went through all of these. He got all of these under his belt. I guess you can hit or miss on the superhero one. You can either be the one that says I'm never doing it, or you can be the one that, like, heck yeah, I'm gonna have some fun for a little bit, get a fandom behind me. But I really hope it doesn't happen to him. That's why I'm looking so much forward to Dune 2. And I mean, I think I said it last week when I talked about Elvis. It's so crazy that he went from me watching him on Disney Channel when I was a kid to him being Elvis, like himself. Like, but yeah, I don't know if this is a situation where Hollywood did Sam Worthington dirty, or if I'm to be cynical, it could be like some actors probably weren't happy, like, that this guy that they never heard of is like the biggest star in the world right now in this movie. Like, that could have been a symptom of that, but that's only speculation. We don't know, but hopefully this reignites Sam Worthington's career. I know he spent a little bit of a stint in Terminator, which was the other big thing that he did at the time.
Yeah, and then I mentioned he was had a quite big role in Under the Banner of Heaven with Andrew Garfield, and he's really good in that. And I'm like, oh shoot, Sam Worthington, how about that? He's good. He's good in a thing again. So maybe this will be that kind of career resurrection, or maybe he's just content doing Avatar,
which is fine.
And that's it, because
I forgot, Clash of the Titans was like his other big thing of the 2010s,
and that movie didn't do well.
No.
So I think that kind of like screwed him.
Right, yeah, because it was very CGI wasn't great. Like,
because he went from Avatar, and then like, here he comes. Here he's a leading man, and then he's the leading man in Clash of the Titans, and people were like, ooh.
Yeah, he's the leading man of like the Greek pantheon too. Like, that's a cool place for him to sit for a little bit. But I think he probably could have benefited from doing like an actual like practical thing where people can relate to, like a genuine general audience could like relate to and see him in. But
yeah, just going down his filmography now, it's not not like a big thing. He was in Hacksaw Ridge.
I haven't seen Hacksaw Ridge, I should say. I genuinely can't remember him in that movie. I haven't seen that since 2017, I don't think.
Yeah, me either. And then he was the main character in Call of Duty Black Ops.
That's what it is. Oh yeah, the numbers, Mason. What do they mean? Wow. He was Mason of you're Mason from Call of Duty Black Ops that every kid played.
Another great POV character. Mason, because it's first person.
You remember the Black Ops era of Call of Duty?
I think that's the last Call of Duty I played was Black Ops 2.
That campaign is awesome. Oh, it's so good. Like that to 2, because I think you get the Suns in that one or something like that. Yeah. Go play the Black Ops. Hopefully, maybe they remaster that Black Ops 1 campaign. I'd play that.
I'd play that too. But yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think he's the perfect like actor in that moment for this movie, because like I said, he's not distractingly famous. Nope. So when he jumps into that Avatar body, like, you're just like,
you're also there.
Yeah, You're like, I'm here. Can move over, Sam Worthington. I'm here now.
It's funny that he did play a video game character, and it does feel very video game to step into a new body.
Yeah. And then, just, I love his... It's funny talking about it, but his character growth is really good.
Yeah, it is. It's something that's, again, it's not overly complicated. It's something you can see it coming. Like, he's going to adapt to the way. He's not going to be this war dog that they kind of put in place for Stephen Lang's character.
Yeah, because they try to do the whole, like, be a double agent, Sam Worthington.
And he's into it. He's the one that's kind of his idea at first. He's just like, yeah, we're wasting time. Let me get back in the body. But
and Stephen Lang's like, we'll get your legs back.
We'll get your legs back, son.
We get the first shuttle out tomorrow morning. And then he's like, no, Stephen Lang, I have to finish the mission.
Yeah, like, 3 months.
If I had 10 of you, I could do anything. God, Stephen Lang is good at this movie.
He is.
Fire.
Clear. I can't believe they put his consciousness into an avatar body and brought him back.
It's so... But
that's such a Terminator thing to do.
I gotta see how it plays in the second movie, but I gotta imagine it's gonna work.
Yeah, and James Cameron we trust. I think in James Cameron we trust.
He's just like, hey, we had a good villain in the first one. Just bring him back.
Do it again.
It's a sci-fi world. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? You can do whatever you want in sci-fi.
We can just explain it with science.
Yeah. Sigourney Weaver, I like Sigourney Weaver a lot. It's funny because I'm also watching Defenders.
But who brought him back?
That's the real question of, I just gotta think that Earth was just like, what do you mean we're missing trillions of dollars in unobtainium because you guys can kill some people or some beings? We're going back with more people.
With Stephen Lang again. We're bringing him back. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious to know the logistics of that.
Yeah, okay, so I guess we can bounce into the spirituality of this movie and AWA because it's so beautifully done.
Man, that scene when they're doing the joint prayer to try to transfer grace into the Avatar. Oh, dude. It's so... Again, it's one of those scenes that, makes you, feel something.
And it's where they place it in the movie, too, because it's after the tree's destroyed. So you're already emotionally fragile, and then now you're seeing another character that you liked, it didn't work. So it's the first time it doesn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work.
It didn't work.
That's the other thing, because, trope dictates that it would work. And, she's okay. She's alive. Nope, it doesn't work. The mother says her wounds were too great even for and then Neytiri kind of doubles down on this concept later when before the big battle, the second battle, the battle where we're ready for a proper war here, and Jake's praying to Awa and he's like, hey, I love how he does it too. He never portrays who he is to who Jake Sully is, and because he opens that prayer with probably just talking to a tree.
Yeah, and it's it's not he portrays who Jake Sully is. I don't even think he knew who Jake Sully was, and I think the good surrogate to use for that is the fact that where the movie begins, it's his brother that was supposed to have this, so he didn't even know who he was he didn't know his place in this universe. The only thing he knew
especially after he lost the use of his legs.
Yeah, who am I? Am I Jake Sully the warrior? He uses that moniker I'm a warrior too, just like you. To say or how do you say it? Sute, yeah.
Sute, yeah. Played by the boys' own Laz Alonso.
Played by MM.
Crazy.
It's just wild. But yeah, just the way he acts is very of the Jarhead clan that he uses. It's
also some quick thinking by that Jarhead, by the way.
It is pretty
to kind of try to bring him to their level, being understanding okay, this is a native people, I gotta speak like a native person would speak, you know what I mean? And then Sute turns around later and he's like, you're an idiot, Jake Sully, and he's like, you do speak English. You prick.
Yep. So he's the chosen one. He's the chosen one. Chosen one trope is back.
Chosen one trope is back. Chosen white savior trope is back.
Yeah. How do you know he's white?
How do you know he's white?
I guess Neytiri got
We know he's white.
Yeah. Neytiri got the news broken to her when she saw him.
She's like, oh, no, he's white.
Nah, she was loving it.
But no, that prayer scene is really, going back to the spirituality where he's just I feel like I'm just... Because that's how people, religious folk are. They're even people... Especially people who half believe in religion, but when the chips are down, they're I don't know if you're there, but
I need
I'm going to give this a shot. And then Neytiri comes in and she's like, that's not how the Force works. She Harrison
But
Ford's
also, the way that Grace explained it, like, it's something that was kind of cool about putting a little bit of, like,
science.
There's a science to the belief. Like, it's not just this, we pray to a god, like, or you pray to a god or gods, like, this is truthfully, like,
the planet's literally connected to something.
Yeah. Whether that be something that is beyond, we don't know, but I think that's a cool piece of lore that they introduced to this world without being, like, a piece of fiction that you pull from. Like, that's a pretty cool thinking from James Cameron.
Yeah, because even when the Deus Ex Machina moment happens, and she's like, "Hey, well, I heard you, Jake." Like, it's still grounded in something.
Yeah.
Which it's not just like the Deus Ex Machina, like the forest awoke and like all the creatures are coming. Like, there's a science to it that makes it a little more believable.
Yeah, because she makes sure when she's kind of training him, she goes out of her way to be like, you're not just killing these animals to kill these animals. We kill them for food. We kill them for whatever. Like, we're giving them to AWA. Like, we're giving them to this higher purpose. Now that you're with us, you're part of this higher purpose. And I think that because Avatar 5-2 is called The Quest for AWA, which is going to be the last one, like, there might be something more grand in this universe that we still haven't scratched. So this is a universe I really want to, and I didn't know I wanted to explore until a couple days ago when we saw this.
Yeah. And like I said, she just says, like, that's not how this, like, works. Like, AWA is here to protect, like, the balance thing, like, life and death, beginning and the end. Like, that's all AWA is here for.
Yeah, there's no good or bad, but there's balance. Yeah. See how these things pull from something?
That's not how the Force works.
Get Harrison Ford in
Avatar. No, he wouldn't like it.
The only thing he likes is Indiana Jones. It's the only thing that man likes. He just likes, he likes, what's his name? I forget his name. That's going to be in Loki, and that was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. The little kid.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, I feel bad for not remembering his name. That's the only two things he loves, Indiana Jones and him.
Yeah, he would hate Avatar.
Yeah, he would hate it. Would he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would.
Not enough whips. There's not enough whips in Avatar for his liking.
Harrison Ford puts his mocap suit on. No.
I'm Harrison Ford from The Fugitive. You don't talk to me like that. They should have had Tommy Lee Jones. If there's only one person that replaced Stephen Lang, would have been Tommy Lee Jones. Now you put that Avatar down now.
Get out of the cage, son.
Harrison Ford as Jake Sully. I did not kill Neytiri.
He would definitely call Sam Worthington's son.
Yeah.
No less than 50 times.
Yeah. Put that gun down now. Go watch The Fugitive. Maybe that's what we should talk about next week is The Fugitive.
I would love to talk about The Fugitive.
What movie did we say last week that we were going to talk about that wasn't a movie that we did? Oh, we were going to talk about The Departed. Yeah.
I would love to talk about
Wait until we start branching out into just regular movies. It's over. It's over for everybody.
You can't handle it.
We're number one. We're them.
Man. What else do we want to talk about?
The mocap. Movie? I think that's the only thing that we didn't talk about. The actual action of how this movie was so incredible, and that's the motion capture that they used on all the actors. And, I mean, the one that it specifically stands out for is Zoe Saldana. Like, the way she moves, like, you can tell, like, she fully she understood the assignment. She understood the assignment, and then she got some extra credit, too. Like, they always knew, like, he was, like, a fake person, a fake Navi, but, like, when it's, like, when he does the whole, like, look, I was sent here to, like, basically spy on you guys. Oh, my God, broke my heart.
And she's like, what are you saying? And he's like, look, and then, like, he gets, like, the plug pulled, and then he comes back, and he's like, you got, and then the scream, like, that primal scream that she, like, go, get out, like, and never come back. Like,
I think it's the best she's ever been. And I know, like, there's, like, what else am I gonna, like, I don't know, like, there's just something about how natural she feels in something that's unnatural.
And she loves these movies, by the way. Like, she has been nothing but, like, glowingly positive about the second one. She's gonna be like, look, when you see the second movie, like, man.
Yeah, I feel like we're in for something special in December.
Man, are you right? You might be right.
This might be, and it's another, it didn't.
Because what's the closest? Guardians?
Maybe, I think she did I don't know how Colombiana was received, because that was, like, her big, like, star action moment in the...
Takers?
Nope. We're takers. We take things.
Maybe we should do Takers next week.
I'm telling you, just wait until we get into regular movies.
It combines all our favorite things. Heists?
Ice.
Hayden Christensen?
Hayden Christensen. What is Hayden Christensen doing in there?
T.I.?
T.I. is in there. Oh, maybe we shouldn't say T.I. anymore.
Chris Brown? Uh-oh.
Is this movie problematic? No. Maybe we can't do takers.
Uh-oh.
We gotta go, man. I'm back on the Departed train. We can't do takers.
She's good in the Adam Project, but it's not like a dramatic kind of performance.
You know what she started doing for a little bit? She always, you know what she does? She brings so much energy to roles too. Like, that's probably her defining trait as an actor for me, is like how much energy she like infuses into. It's literally in the bones of the movie. Like, she just puts something. Their bones are made of carbon fiber. Get Stephen Lang in everything. Make him Cable. Sorry, Josh Brolin. Don't miss on
you're
this.
right. No, you're right about that. Thinking about like, going into like Star Trek. She's in Star Trek Beyond.
Yeah, that was
the Adam Project I mentioned. She's in that Amsterdam movie that's coming out.
Is that movie canceled?
Probably. It should be.
David O. Russell, no.
But it's such a good cast.
The cast is wild.
Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Chris
Nero,
Rock, Anya Taylor-Joy,
Rami Malek,
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers is in that movie.
Michael Shannon, Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah, the movie's
Taylor Swift.
Well, the movie was. This is going to be like. I mean, David O. Russell also did American Hustle, so he's used to bigger in The Big Short, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I could be wrong, but Adam McKay did The Big Short, right?
Yeah.
I always confuse. I don't know why. You know why I confuse Adam McKay and David O. Russell? Because they use yellow font to market their movies. That's such a weird way to go about it, because that's why I always get them mixed up.
Oh, man. All right.
Enough of you, David O. Russell.
Yeah, we've given you too much time already.
We were talking about Zoe Saldana and how she just...
and how you blew my mind, but also were accurate in saying that this is like her most captivating performance.
And again,
but you're right.
That's another thing I didn't... But you feel her... She really, like, you're learning the Na'vi with her. Like, this is something, like, especially in 2009, that's something that's not normal. Like, to see 8-foot tall blue people, like, it's not normal. So, but she makes it feel normal, and she makes it feel like something that you might want to be a part of. Like, and that's Absolutely. What AY is. Like, it's you're part of something bigger at that point.
We're all part of something bigger.
Yeah.
This. Yes. And then, another one of the criticisms that lobbed at this movie and still exists to this day is like there's no fandom culture behind this movie. Like nobody cares. You basically, like, no one's like fervently like talking about Avatar on the Twitters.
Can a movie just be a movie?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it works to this movie's benefit that it doesn't have like a groundswell of fandom. Like, we've seen how crazy that has gotten over the last few years.
Because you know what happens? It's the same thing as the movie-going experience. The fandom takes control of the actual thing that you
like
have.
We talked about, like, not the very first thing. The second thing we talked about on this episode, like, we're doing a news segment on the writers of the Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
That would never have happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
You just hear about the director and that's it.
Maybe,
yeah. Because guess what you're going for? If it's the 80s, I'm going to see Harrison Ford run away from a boulder and use a whip, or I'm going to see Harrison Ford drive the Millennium Falcon, or if it's the 90s, I'm going to see Harrison Ford be on the run. Is this Harrison Ford specific? I guess it is. That's the thing with Avatar. Like, I'm not finding like Jake Sully fan edits on Twitter. Like, I don't need that. No, we don't.
Like, it's just a movie that I go into a theater and I sit down for almost 3 hours and I'm just like encapsulated by the world, and then I'm out. And then I'm back in the real world and I'm satisfied. Yeah. Like, I don't need to be constantly dissecting Avatar every day of my life. Yeah. Like, it's not necessary. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to nitpick for details or like, what does this mean? Yeah. What does this mean? Yeah, what is this setting up?
Obviously there's those broader strokes that you take, but where like, I feel like for movies you're supposed to get that at, if I'm the end with something like bigger, like, it's just in the bones of it. Like, it's just in those things you can relate with. And that's as simple. Like, sometimes movies aren't for you, and that's okay. Like, why go out of your way to talk about it if it's not for you? Like, that just don't feel the need.
This movie was clearly for somebody. Yeah. Because it made it almost $3 billion. Yeah. Like, clearly this movie has something. And this world has something.
You know what I think it had? And that why almost $3 billion later it was the fact that people could get away. They could truthfully get away. Because it's not another place on Earth. Earth. It's not a futuristic Earth. It's literally a new world. Like, that's why, like, you know what I think's going to happen in a couple of years? I think Dune's going to get a cult following in a couple of years, because I think it's going to take Dune 2 to get there, because I don't think people realize how incredible of a thing they got, like, of a world they got, like, Caladan and Dune itself, like, I just don't think they understand yet. And once it hits, I'm going to be right there, and I'm going to be like, you guys, welcome.
You know what part of it is, though, and what works so well about this movie, I think, in terms of, like, people not having that dissociation of not knowing what they're seeing, is, like, it's the alien aspect of it. Like, Dune, as foreign as it is, everyone still looks like a human. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And whereas an Avatar, like, by the time you're done with it, the humans look like the aliens.
Yeah. And I think, again, what's so awesome is I think Avatar 2 is even going to be like, we're going to have the fewest human characters. I don't need any humans. Like, it's not that the Na'vi are like, they're these alien creatures, or like, it's not that broad. It's just they're beings. Like, humans are just beings, like, in the vast, whatever Wong would say, in the grand cusp of the multiverse. I have to watch The Sopranos.
Man, yeah, what a movie. Mm-hmm. The movie's I wasn't stunned, because this movie was, like I said, it is one of my favorite movies, but, like, just going back in there after 10 years and still feeling like all the same things that I felt 10 years ago and then 13 years ago prior when I first saw it, like, that means there's something. There's something there, you know what I mean? It's not an accident.
Right.
You know, it's not just, I'm just seeing this to see it. Like, I'm actually experiencing something, and I'm experiencing something, like I said earlier, like, that I'm not even trying to feel. It's just happening to me.
Yep.
And, like, that's a truly special experience that I can only count on one hand, you know, the amount of movies that have ever made me feel that way, like, in a movie theater. Like, I couldn't even begin to list them, because I truly don't know.
Yeah. Man, I think I saw, you know what movie did that to me when I was younger? Django Unchained did that to me, where I was just like, you're enveloped in this new, like, this foreign world to you, because obviously it's not the 1800s anymore, and you're kind of following this surreal thinking story. That's what Tarantino does best. He makes the surreal real, and I'm following this black slave that rebelled and turned himself into an action hero. Like, that's freaking awesome. Like, Everything Everywhere All at Once was another one that I was just like, I was just struck by, like, how like, you don't understand that's one of the rarest movies in history, because that movie's made for every last person that's ever been born, or, like, born on this earth. Like, that's what that movie's made for. Like, life could be so complicated, but it's as simple as, like, maybe I just want to do taxes with my wife. Like, that could be as simple as it. Like, I just want something very simple, as ever powerful as we get. Like, some movies, like, those are just a couple, but, like, I feel like that, again, that's another thing. Like, I think so there was the preview for this movie, so I don't care what movie theater you go to now. I think, depending on what it is, they have, like, there's the famous Nicole Kidman one. We have Maria Menounos, but, like, they do the actual, like, whatever the actual theater company is, they'll do their own promotion at the end. And you know what the thing that I looked at you immediately was, and that's how I knew things had changed? There was a section where it's just like, before it used to be like, silence your phone or you're gonna miss it. You know what this one was? It was people clapping at a moment in the movie, and I'm like, this can't be real. Like, this is what they're marketing to us now, and it makes me afraid. It makes me a little afraid that this is the future. Whenever I see those big moments, I'm not a clapper. I'm a jaw dropped, like when Cap lifted Thor's hammer. Like, I wasn't, like, standing up going crazy. Like, I was just, like, to myself, like, mouth open, because, like, I guess I just had the theater etiquette from before, but, like, not that that's not bad. Like, it's cool. Like, as much as, like, I've talked about this, like, it is super cool that, like, we all got to experience, like, our childhoods come back for No Way Home, or, like, the culmination of 23 movies for one. Like, that's something that's what Marvel has over some of these other places. Like, we'll probably never see that again. Like,
no, the Marvel thing is, like, an experience unto itself. Mm-hmm. Like, going to see Avatar 2, for example, I don't anticipate that. Any of that. And
yeah, but I think what's happening is people are equating that with a bad experience. I think that's what it is, and it's
people want,
wrong.
Like, that sporting event.
Yeah, it's not what it is. Again, I'm the old man, I guess, of Scorsese times, but, like, it's a theme park ride versus an actual movie. Like, it's just like, it's not like I think people took what he said out of context, but it's just like it's supposed to be like this thrill ride from start to finish, whereas like sometimes they're just meant to be seen as like movies where like you're entranced in this world. Like I said, either it could be like town across from the town that you live in, or like an actual alien world, like, but you're following these characters and you're living in this world for a little bit, and then it's over. Like you got a chance to step away from reality for a little bit. And
that's what I think this movie and Avatar, like I guess as a franchise, quote unquote, really hits home. Like like I said, like it's not a movie I routinely go back to, even though it's one of my favorite films. It's just that experience. Like it's something that I deeply, deeply cherish experiencing, and I don't want to dampen it by like going back to it, every weekend or
watching
something like
breakdowns of it every day. Like that, I think that cheapens some things too. Like
absolutely cheap, and I think it's cheapened probably even some of the movies that we've seen in the last 2 years. Spider-Man: No Way Home comes to mind. Like some of that was probably cheapened, by the dissecting and the theorizing and all that stuff that we're all guilty of. We all do it. That's the cool part about Avatar is like, I don't have to theorize about the second one.
I'm just on Pandora. That's it. I'm just following this guy that finally got his legs back. And not only did he get his legs back, he got a people and he got the love of his life. It's simple. Like, that's all I wanted. And I'm with him for 3 hours, and then I'm back to my life. And then I'm with Michelle Yeoh's character and everything everywhere else, and then I'm all back to my life. I'm with Henry from Goodfellas, and then I'm back to my life. Like, I feel like we need more of that.
And I was so curious about this re-release and, like, if it was going to just totally bomb, because it could have, all that online chatter about nobody cares about Avatar, nobody's seeing Avatar, no one can name 3 characters from Avatar that have any substance. Like, it makes me also realize how truly small, like, the internet community is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and it's something I feel like I need to remind myself all the time. Like, even though I'm around it all the time and I'm in this vortex of all these voices just pinging opinions off each other, it's such a fraction of, like, the actual community at large.
Yeah, because those are the people that are representing, like, you take Top Gun Maverick, like the fan experience. You take the Batman, because there were people that were, like, against Robert Pattinson as Batman, and then the house is full when we go to the fan event. Like, that's what it is. Those are the true fans to me. Like, they're the ones that are like, I just love this because it's this. Like, I'm not going in there like, oh, if this one thing is wrong, like, it ruined the whole... No, like, I'm just there to be there. Like, you give me my favorite movie, I can give you a nitpick thing that I don't like about it, but that's not... I talked about it when whatever episodes ago I gave my rant. Like, I was just like, why are we putting so much stake into that? And, like, I feel like the 70s and 80s way of, like, consuming movies where we were just consuming movies and, like, we loved our action heroes and that was it. Like, I feel we need more of that.
Yeah, and I talked about it last week, but we talked about the Fantastic Four thing, like, jokingly saying, like, oh, we should just hold off until, like, the movie's out to find out who the cast is, because why not?
Right.
You know what I mean? And, obviously I was being, like, facetious about it, but at the same time, there's an element of truth to that. Like, why do we need, 7 trailers for Spider-Man: No Way Home before it comes out? Like, who are the studios trying to impress? Like, everyone's gonna see it anyway.
Yeah, and again, people are staking their liking of any project that you like. Don't worry, darling's whole prowess right now is because of drama. That's the only thing it's not, like I said, I feel like this movie might not be as bad as people are saying, because, like, I saw there's that viral video going out of, like, the girls laughing in the theater. Like, that feels bad to me, because, like, there could be good performances in that movie, but you're looking at it through this microcosm, like, grand telescope of
going, like, viral.
Yeah, that's all they care about. You don't care about the actual movie itself. You're just looking for things to find funny so you can joke about it, get your jokes off on Twitter, and then you go home and somebody's career is destroyed. Like, that's really wrong to me. I'm sorry.
I agree. And that's why seeing that this re-release of this movie that allegedly nobody cares about and it made $30 million it makes me really interested in December.
Yeah.
And do I expect this movie to make $2 billion, $3 billion? No, I don't. I don't expect this to eclipse whatever it had in 2009. But do I expect it to hit $1 billion easily? Yeah,
I think it's just going to do some numbers. I genuinely think this is going to do some numbers, and I think it's coming out at the right time.
I do too, because I mean, going back to the whole internet thing, what is one of the most memed kind of frames from Spider-Man No Way Home? It's the Flash Thompson scene.
Yep.
Where he's standing, on the sidewalk of New York City, and it's clearly green screen.
Yeah.
And it, whatever, a pandemic was happening, and they did the best that they could with what they had. When you it sucks that I'm even saying this, but like when you look at that compared to like what we're gonna get in this Avatar movie, it's not even in the same stratosphere of special effects.
No, and I mean, again, that comes with these.
And don't get me wrong, there are some really great visuals in Spider-Man No Way Home. That's not the movie,
right?
But that one frame.
But that's social media for you. They'll take one frame and they'll run with it. They'll take one story about Don't Worry Darling, they'll run with it. Even what I feel like I even do with Black Adam sometimes, you're taking this thing the whole fate is staked on the rock and roll. Like, what happens if this is just a really cool movie that we get next month? Like, what happens if this movie's like good? What if this movie's really cool? Like, can it just be a cool movie that we see? Like, yeah, it's just what we've transformed into. I hope we get back to the old ways.
So I'm just curious. This movie's super intriguing to me. And you know what? Part of the whatever numbers this second movie's going to do is going to be that curiosity. Yeah. Because even people who don't like it are going to go see it because they're going to be curious.
What's it, September?
Yeah.
How do I get us to I have to get us to do some numbers. Like, I have to pull an ultimate bet on yourself. I got to pull an Aaron Judge this season as I watch him try to get 61 home runs.
Yeah, they're going to... So even people who don't like it are going to see it.
My point was I got to get us to the premiere. That was the point. Because
I'd love to.
We're huge James Cameron supporters at this point. I'm going to go watch Titanic.
I'm just a huge supporter of this movie in general.
I like movies, man.
I think this movie is really special.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Like, that's really what I think. I think there's as it's funny saying this as realizing how kind of bare bones things are and how it leans on a lot of different tropes. Even despite all that, there's nothing like this movie. As crazy as that is to say.
It was solely unique.
As crazy it is to say, like a movie that borrows from so many tropes and other stories and all this other stuff, there's still nothing like it.
Yep.
And I think that's really, really beautiful. You know what I mean? That this really feels like a unique experience. Yep. Like, I can't walk out of seeing Avatar and go like, I haven't felt this since ... because I haven't felt anything like how I felt walking out of Avatar. Like, there's nothing I can compare to it. Other movies have made me feel good. Other movies have made me feel like I'm glad I saw this. Top Gun Maverick's a great example. Like, that was a thrilling movie. I was super satisfied with it. It was great from start to finish. Still didn't feel the same as I felt walking out of Avatar.
Wow.
Like, there's just something about that experience, that world that like I said earlier, I can't put it into words. I can't explain what it feels like. I just know it when I feel it. Yep.
Yeah, it's something that's lost is like it's the same thing as like that whole thing like people don't read anymore, like those things like the technology aspect of it. If you strip that away, like there's just simply like, again, I just want to feel something. Like, again, for me in the last like year to 2 years, it was everything everywhere all at once. Like, I just didn't expect it. Like, I just solely thought this was going to be like a quote unquote indie multiverse movie. Like, if A24 were to take Multiverse of Madness, but it was so much more than that. Like, again, that movie is, I don't care who you are or what you do. Like, that movie is for every single last person that's ever been born. Like, those stories, but again, it's the story aspect. That's the most important thing out of all of this. It's the actual bones you're getting from this. The actual blood, bones, and body parts that are getting into this, developing this person of a movie. Yeah. And that's Avatar.
Yeah.
That's it.
It really is. It's
we opened Pandora's box, for lack of a better term.
It's such a special film, and I'm glad that the second one is finally coming. What movie? It was Doctor Strange, right? That had the first trailer for the second one.
It was it Thor or was it Doctor Strange?
I think it was Doctor Strange.
It might have been Doctor Strange.
Because remember, we were like kind of late, and then we walked in right when the Avatar 2 trailer started.
Oh, right. Because I remember once they did because how Hollywood does it is they'll do the actual, they'll do the premiere, then they'll do the critic screenings, and then they'll do the wide release. So the critic screenings are still like the wide releases, so they'll give you the trailers, and like they're like, all right, watch out for an Avatar 2 trailer that's going to be attached to the beginning of this, and then we saw it and we were like
forget Doctor Strange.
Like, this looks... Because, again, you know what was cool about that? I was just like, I forgot about Pandora. Like, I forgot about Jake Sully and Neytiri. Like, I forgot about this. But, like, it's cool. It's cool that I forgot about it because, oh, man.
The first shot when she's looking through the leaves, I'm like, what is happening?
Polished. Like, all right, so to get to the end, they showed a clip from Avatar 2, like I said earlier, with the sun. So it's one of the, it's like a pseudo, like all these characters are based on like actual creatures from Earth. So it's basically like a whale, but a Pandora version of a whale. And it's, man, like, so it's Jake and Neytiri's son, because I think they have six kids or something like that, and I want to see, because there's a human kid with them too, so I want to see what the deal with that. I wonder if that's actually Jake's real son that he had on Pandora and something happened. I want to see if that's just like a refugee like that got left behind that was a child from Pandora, like a human child that they kind of adopted into their world, because at this point in the story, everybody that's on Pandora is for Pandora and for the Na'vi. There's nobody there that's against them because they're all went back to Earth. I'm just gonna assume that, like I said earlier, the Earth people were like, y'all better go right back. You just got sunned by Jake Sully. He's in a wheelchair. You got to go back and handle your business. Man, it's again, you feel that emotional connection because like it's the connection you feel between them because they're able obviously to connect to these creatures through Awa. Like it's through physiology, but it's also through the spirituality they're able to connect to these creatures. So that the water mechanics, like I could not believe what I was looking at. Like, man, I don't even have words. Like, I just like I need to see this. Like, I need to see this ASAP. Like, cryo freeze me for 3 months and wake me up when this happens.
Oh man,
give me a little stint when Black Panther comes out, then you can freeze me again, and then you can bring me back. Yeah,
I was blown away, and I knew it was coming because I had a friend tell me like, "Hey, stick around after the movie because they're gonna show a scene from the new one," and I'm just like, "Ooh." Yeah. And I saw it and I was like, "Oh my god." Like,
their skin looks so looks real, like it looks the closest thing to real that you can get. Like there's this, again, when she's looking through the leaves in the beginning of the trailer, like you're like, there's another scene where that same son and then two of the, I think a daughter and another son are like, they're peeking in the jungle, and I'm like wait a minute. And then the famous one that the internet grabbed is like, there's one where one of the Na'vi are like they're tightening like one of the holds that they have on one of the leashes of the creatures. I'm like, nah, somebody painted their hands and put it in frame. Like that can't be CGI. Like it just can't. Yeah,
I can't wait.
I love how he got Kate Winslet back. He's like, Kate, we got water again? You down? And she was just like, why wouldn't I be down?
Yes.
Is Leonardo DiCaprio gonna be here? No, you're not 25 in the movie, so she's not.
But Sam Worthington's here.
Yeah.
And Sam Worthington's like, I'm getting 10% of the gross this time, right?
I'm getting 10% of the gross this time, right? And James Cameron said, ooh. Yeah, best I can do is give you some kids. Best I can do is give you Sigourney Weaver again.
Best I can do is possibly resurrect your career, Sam Worthington.
Yeah. Man, I hope it does.
Me too.
Or if it doesn't and he's happy.
Same.
Can people just be happy?
All right, guys. What have you, we'll segue. We'll transition to our end of the show segment.
Yeah.
How's the MCU thing going?
I'm on the Defenders.
Oh no, I
haven't made a big jump because
it was like 3 days ago.
Yeah,
4 days ago.
So I watched Spider-Man: Homecoming. I actually really liked that movie. Like that John. Did I talk about this?
I think so.
Yeah, I did. So I already talked about that. I actually really like the Homecoming. I think that movie's better than people get it credit for. And I think John Watts is kind of cool. I think he did some cool stuff, especially in that first
Leave it
one.
in, John Watts.
Leave it in. Leave the stuff in the movie, John Watts. And then I started the Defenders. And yeah, uh-oh's right. It's just, again, it's so just night and day between, I would say it's like Charlie Cox 1A, and then you drop a couple spaces and then it's Kristen Ritter, and then you drop one space and then it's Mike Coulter, and then you drop like a bunch more spaces, and we already talked about Finn Jones. Like, I do not think some of that's his fault. Like, I think a lot of that is direction based, but I don't. And then what I think happened, he got the defenders and he didn't know what to do. I think that's also what happened. So he's just like, I'm gonna do what I was doing before because I don't really have direction. Like, the best direction he got was from Luke Cage season 2.
Yeah.
So, man, I hate to say it. I kind of hope they do bring back Finn Jones and he gets one more crack at being like, I just want more Zen Master Iron Fist versus...
We love a good redemption story.
Yeah, bring him back. Bring them all back. Bring them all back and let him have another crack because could be Kang, couldn't be Kang, like who knows?
It would feel weird, wouldn't it, if they brought back literally everybody else?
And not him, yeah, I agree. Like it would just be weird.
The only way you can get around it is if you don't use Danny Rand at all.
Well, that's literally the only other thing, like... It would be kind of cool because, like, there's so many things to do with that Iron Fist Lord. I mean, you got Orson Randall, like, you have the previous Iron Fist, which is, to me, it's kind of like a Jay Garrick, Barry Allen situation where you have your old Sage version and then your actual version. Yeah. You could do something like that. Like, I think that would be cool. And then you have, I still didn't learn his name, but there's a new Iron Fist in the streets. And I do think that Marvel Comics did that intentionally in the wake of Finn Jones not being received well. So they had, like, a backup plan in the event that they came to the MCU, which they did. So I don't know. I kind of want to see if give them all a second chance and get them in this new age of the MCU and let's see how it works. It's just Charlie Cox. There's this courtroom scene in the beginning. Like, yeah, man, he looked like give me Jordan and give me 96 Jordan. Like, it's just like, just put it like he's in his career. He's been in his career, but he's still balling out. Like, yeah, I've already said everything I needed to say about that man as that character. Like, it's just, he's got such a big differential between them. It's not even funny. But, yeah, I think I'm like 2 episodes in. I'm having more fun than I thought I would, to be honest. Sigourney Weaver's there. It is incredibly slow in that first 4 episodes. It's just, I don't get it. And again, it's like the Netflix action versus the MCU action. It's like the Netflix was more like story and character driven, but I don't know. You got to give me something. You got to give me something to keep watching because Charlie Cox can only do it so much for me. And before I'm like, yep, I can't see Finn Jones anymore. I can't see Iron Fist. He's just going to complain that his Iron Fist isn't working. I'm like, that's your whole thing, man. I don't understand. Riddle me this, Batman. Why is he losing in fights or having it equal with Daredevil? Like, it should have been like how Daredevil fights Punisher. Like, Iron Fist should be like, quote unquote, sunning him. Like, yeah, he should be able to like, it should be like a humbling experience for Daredevil because he doesn't really get bested like that. Yeah. By this kid. Like, this kid's just besting me every single time.
But, you know, the most popular character's got to win.
Yeah, true, yeah. But, I mean, there's always light at the end of the tunnel because it literally transitions right into Daredevil Season 3. Mm-hmm. Even the opening frame of Daredevil Season, I can't wait. To me, that's cinema.
That is cinema.
It's TV.
I started the Uncharted games.
Okay.
I'm in my Naughty Dog bag right now.
You are. You really
so I finished The Last of Us, and then I was like, do I want to...
I was there when you finished The Last of Us.
You were. You saw the credits.
Yeah.
And then I was like, do I want to play part 2 again? And I'm like, nah.
Maybe. You think they're going to re-release it on the PS5?
Maybe. That game already looks really good.
I feel like they're not going to do that for years, but back to Uncharted.
Part 2, there's so much trauma in part 2. I can't handle it. Yeah, I finished that game and I was exhausted.
Yeah, I'm exhausted playing 1. I had to take a break because
2 doubles down on that.
Yeah, I haven't had any free time over like since even 2 episodes ago. I literally have had no free time. So yeah,
2 is exhausting. And I'm like, do I want to experience that again? Nah. Let me do some fun stuff. Mm-hmm. Let me play Uncharted because they have the Nathan Drake collection. That's a PlayStation 4 title, and they have the PS5 remaster of Uncharted 4. So I want to play those.
They're free, right? If I think I have them free from before.
Yeah, I think the Nathan Drake collection is free. 4 might also be free, but you might have to pay like $20 for the PS5 upgrade.
Oh, I'm a sellout. I'll do it.
Yeah, I just want to let me do a fun one. Let me do some fun stuff. Yeah. Because Nolan North is fantastic as Nathan Drake. He's your typical Indiana Jones adventurer, suave kind of guy.
He's like Indy Jones mixed with Tony Stark.
Yeah, which is funny because Nolan North did indeed voice Tony Stark, and that's one of the things that took me out of the Avengers game because his Nathan Drake voice is the same as his Tony Stark voice. But man, yeah, it's just a fun little on the rails kind of linear adventure game. You know, like I said, it's early Naughty Dog, so like the Last of Us bones are in there as far as like the gunplay and the gameplay and stuff like that. Little puzzles like that aren't like overly complex. I'm like, this is nice. Like it's just a nice game to play.
You know what game had surprisingly like complex puzzles? Fallen Order.
Yeah,
I was getting frustrated in Fallen Order sometimes.
We gotta like move the ball and like shoot the ball.
Oh,
like,
the Zepho stuff just genuinely
like
got me
off
mad.
a ramp.
And it's like it's like in the first act of the game. I'm like, don't do this to me. Why don't you save this a little bit?
So if I'm timing my schedule right, I'll be through all these Uncharted games by like mid-October, and then I'll be able to get right on the ramp to playing God of War again, and then right into Ragnarok. Yeah. So I got my gaming life pretty well planned out for the next 2 months.
Do I have to give my movie/show schedule since you give the game schedule? So I'm still committed to watching Indiana Jones is the next franchise I'm going to watch, including Crystal Skull. You haters. Still going to watch it. So I'm going to watch Indy. I think I'm going to attempt to finish Barry. That's my TV show. So how do I do this for me to kind of consolidate is to make sure I'm watching movies, but also give my time for television. Like I'll watch a TV show, then I'll either watch 3 movies or a franchise. Like it'll cop it out. Like if I have to sit through 7 Harry Potter movies, I'll sit through the 7 if it's in between a TV show. So making sure like I dedicate my time to TV shows, but also give cinema the time and love it deserves.
Yeah. So I got my end of the year planned out as far as like gaming. So I'm gonna do Uncharted.
Look what this podcast has bought us to.
I'm doing Uncharted.
We're making schedules for playing and watching stuff.
Yeah, God of War 2018. You know, my replay of that, and then God of War Ragnarok.
That week is gonna break me.
I don't have much going like the end of November yet, but I do. And then, you know, December is Crisis Core, the next kind of installment of the Final Fantasy VII remake saga thing. But this is a prequel, and it's going to be fun because the original Crisis Core is amazing, story-wise, not mechanic-wise, because it's a PSP game. But they finally fixed it and are releasing it on the PlayStation 5. So it's that end of November bit I got to figure out. So, but until then, we talked about Avatar and how great it is. And then, so you can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook, where new episodes are posted every Wednesday-ish, if I can remember to do it on Wednesdays. And then all episodes of the podcast are up every Wednesday morning on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast sent to you.
Your grandma's radio.
If you get your podcast there.
Yeah, your local barbershop.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
You can follow us on Instagram.
James Cameron's office.
Yes.
Please.
James Cameron, if you're listening.
Didn't I stake this whole thing on getting us to a premiere before and I failed?
Yeah.
What was the movie before?
The Batman?
That was something dumber than that.
Oppenheimer?
Yeah. So I still have time.
You still have time.
We're getting to that. If it's the last thing I do with my earthly breath or my Avatar breath, I'm getting us to that Oppenheimer premiere. But I guess my baseline is to get us to Avatar. I got 3 months to make us famous.
You can follow us on Instagram
at the Project Infinite Pod after you heard that whole rant about getting us to premieres.
Yep. Thank you.
If you guys listen more, we'll get to these premieres.
True story.
And then we'll get little headphones like Straw Hat Goofy, and then we'll review the movie there.
We need a TikTok.
We do need a TikTok. What do you kids use these days? The TikTok? Back in my day, that was the thing, the sound the clock made.
Oh man!
I also was almost not born in the 90s, so I don't know why I made that whole joke.
I was born in the early 90s. Oh no!
You saw OJ on the highway.
Am I washed?
You're washed. You're old.
I got everything right.
Yeah. You're kind of the Stephen Lang to my Sam Worthington.
I was going to call you the Stephen Lang of the podcast.
But then I'm the villain.
All right, you could be the Sam Worthington of the podcast.
But do I want Sam Worthington?
Why not?
At least you didn't give me Norm.
We didn't
talk about Norm much.
That's fine. He's typical. Yeah, I mentioned him earlier. How he's typical science book nerd.
This is if we had our intern that we're gonna get, that they would just insert the nerd from Homer Simpson when Norm pops up, and that's it.
Yeah, you're the Sam Worthington of the podcast.
I'll take it. Does that mean I'm gonna have like a major failure after like we hit episode 100? And like, am I gonna?
What's your Clash of the Titans?
Is that doing Fox Radio? Like, I don't know what my Clash is like. Is not maybe Fox Sports is like. I'm gonna go like be a beat podcaster for like, or like a news anchor for like a sports team that nobody. Maybe I'm gonna be like a Timberwolves like the Timberwolves announcer for a little bit. And I'm not going to love it. I'll say something that's going to get me in trouble, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, that's fine. Come back 13 years later.
Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah,
He's back, everybody.
I'm back. After you somehow miraculously get somebody famous to be your co-host on here.
This podcast is our fortress.
Okay, so where is he from?
I don't know. He's got Mark Wahlberg syndrome.
But Boston's still in America. Oh my god, you know what's insane? Listen. So, I had to explain to somebody that Mark Wahlberg wasn't always an actor, that he used to be Marky Mark.
Yeah.
And then...
It's a humbling experience, isn't it?
Am I getting old?
Yeah. Welcome. This is how it feels.
Once that Mario trailer comes out that we forgot from the news, then it's really going to bother me.
October 6th.
Yeah, that trailer comes out on my birthday, so...
That's fun.
Yeah, no it's not.
Then you got Kraven the Hunter next year on your birthday?
Why? Hollywood, stop.
Why are they doing this?
Give me a good movie on my birthday.
Kraven the Hunter is coming out.
There was another movie that...
I just said to you.
Remember when the Joker came out and we saw it? That was... I don't want to get into the details of that experience, but... Good movie.
Good movie.
Theater experience. I don't want to talk about it.
All right, guys. Next
week...
Don't
come into the movies 5 minutes after the movie starts in a trench coat. Just don't do it.
No, especially not in the United States.
Yeah. Giving everybody bad vibes.
Yeah, really bad vibes. Next week, Umbrella Academy?
We've done it.
Or I Am Legend. Or The Departed. Or that other thing that I said.
What was the other thing?
Fugitive.
The Fugitive. Oh, man. If Will Smith would have never slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars, I never thought we would have talked about I Am Legend this early in this
Avatar run. Again, actually.
Avatar 2, Way of the Water, from the future. It's like James Cameron, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
Unless Martin Scorsese sends it to... Maybe I won Martin Scorsese's trust.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
We're doing The Departed, so I can beat him. Maybe. We'll see.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
You didn't say goodbye.
You say goodbye.
No, you say goodbye and then I say peace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Peacemaker.
Oh, no. You broke the immersion.
I love that show.
Immersion?
No. That's probably some canceled pilot from the early 2000s on ABC.
Yeah.
That's oddly specific.
Yeah.
We gotta go, man.
We gotta go. Yeah, got it in. We'll see you next week.
Oh, that's another person for the whiteboard.
Jeffrey Wright.
Doesn't matter what you're in, Jeffrey Wright. We love you. Maybe that's your co-host that's gonna be like when I go on my rant.
Imagine it. That'd be great. All right. Goodbye.
Peace.